Welcome. Today's Monday, June 12th, 2023. I'm Councillor William Riley. I'll be the chair of tonight's meeting. I'm going to go around the table. We're meeting a little bit earlier tonight because we have some confidential matters to deal with, and then our regular meeting will start approximately around 6:30 p.m. So at this point, I'm just going to look around the room here to see if there's any disclosure, pecuniary interest, and or conflict of interest. Not seeing or hearing any. The confidential matters, and so the recommendation is that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001. And the first item is a confidential report, CAO 01-2023, approval of collective agreement QP 1287 or 1287. Applicable closed session exemptions are personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and labor relations. 2, we have our Township Solicitor Tom Richardson, Sullivan Mahoney, LLP, and Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, and it's regarding legal solicitor-client privilege, Ontario Land Tribunal, and that's an OLT matter regarding Helen Kazan, file number 22-00280, and we're receiving a verbal update. The applicable closed session exemption is advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Then our third item on the agenda is also from our town solicitor, Tom Richardson, and Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble, legal solicitor-client privilege, Ontario Land Tribunal, and it's regarding our official plan amendment, OPA 63. We're receiving a verbal update. The applicable closed session exemptions are advice as, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And then finally, if I'm reading this correctly, our fourth item here is a property matter, bylaw enforcement matter, South Grimsby Road property matter, verbal update, and the applicable closed session exemption is litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. So at this point, I need a mover and seconder to go into close. I got Councillor Chichuk, Mayor Ganan. All those in favor, just with our hands. And we are closed. So we'll return shortly. I'm going to report that this committee now resume in open session at the hour of 7:21 p.m. I need a mover and seconder for that. We got Councillor Chichuk and Councillor Bradrick. With a show of hands, we'll just do to bring us back in open. All those in favor? And opposed? Not seeing or hearing any? Okay, so we're back into open. Your ears okay?
Can you tell me next time you do that?
Sorry, I'll let you know when to turn down the hearing aid. Is that the problem, or?
Yeah.
All right. He always harasses me. All right, so first item of business, coming out of close there. Thank you everyone for your patience. I know we were in there for a little while there. So our first item was item P4723, and it was confidential matter related to recommendation report CAO 01-2023, approval new collective agreement. And that open session directive is that CAO report RFD CAO 01-23 dated June 12th, 2023 regarding approval of new collective agreement QP 1287 be received. And that a budget amendment BA 2023-02 in the amount I just want to confirm that this is the correct one. Okay. In the amount of $21,380 as outlined in Part A of this report be approved to fund any budget impact resulting from the ratification of the QP collective agreement. And 3, that a bylaw be presented to council at the June 26, 2023 council meeting to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the new collective agreement and any schedules and or related documents to the agreement. And 4, that budget amendment BA 2023-03 in the amount of $1,720 as outlined in Part B of this report be approved regarding associated changes related to mayor and members of council remuneration. And 5, that budget amendment BA 2023-05 in the amount of $33,620 as outlined in Part C of this report be approved regarding the associated changes to the remuneration for permanent non-union staff and other than permanent non-union employees. So I need a mover and seconder for that one. I got Councillor Rayner and Councillor Bradrick. I'm gonna go to our clerk unless someone has something to mention. Let's bring my thing up here. Go to our clerk for the vote. See if it comes up on everybody's. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna do it for closed session. We gotta do it by hand. So all those in favor with a show of hands. Okay, and that carries unanimously, so that, do you need me to write who moved, or you got it? Okay, so I'm going to put that one down. Our next item, item 4823, which is Township Solicitor Tom Richardson, Sullivan Mahoney, Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, and it was a legal matter from the LLT, Helen Kazan, file number 2200280, was just a verbal update, so nothing to report back from there. The next item was item P4923, Township Solicitor and our Director of Planning, Brian Treble, and that was regarding Ontario Land Tribunal Official Plan Amendment OPA 63. So I have a resolution here that I need a mover and seconder for momentarily. So that the township staff and legal counsel be and are hereby authorized to proceed as directed in closed session with respect to a legal solicitor-client privilege matter, specifically as it relates to Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, appeal of the official plan amendment OPA number 63. So if I can get a mover, I got Mayor Ganan and secondary Councillor Chichuk. So before we go to a vote for that there, on behalf of our legal counsel and staff, I have a statement provided to us that we can read publicly. And it's, I'll start with this. So public information with respect to the appeal of official plan amendment 63, file number 104269. And it says, thank you for your telephone call of earlier today. In anticipation of council meeting on Monday, June 12, 2023, I'd like to propose for your consideration the following information, which I believe is appropriate at this stage and can be released to the public. Official Plan Amendment number 62 enlarges the urban area boundary for urban area of Smithville. OPA number 62 reflects the requirements of the regional official plan, and OPA number 62 has been approved by the region. Official Plan Amendment number 63 provides a secondary plan for the new urban area implemented by OPA 62. OPA number 63 was adopted by council of this township, of the Township of West Lincoln on April 20, 2023. OPA number 63 has now been appealed by Phelps Homes Limited and JTG Holding Limited on May 15, 2023. That appeal has been filed with the regional clerk. The regional clerk has now submitted the required appeal package to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which will establish a case management conference in the coming months to determine who will be the parties to the hearing of that appeal. In the meantime, staff and legal counsel of the Township of West Lincoln are working with staff and legal counsel for the regional municipality of Niagara to determine whether it is possible to find an alternative dispute resolution process to address some or all of the matters raised in the appeal. The next step in the hearing process will be notification by the Ontario Land Tribunal of a case management conference, which will be held virtually, and then it just finishes off by saying, I'd be happy to discuss the contents of this information package at your earliest convenience and on behalf of our legal counsel, Sullivan Mahoney. So I just read that so the public is well aware there. Go back unless there's any other questions or comments. I have to, with a show of hands, call the question regarding the motion that we put forward. So not seeing any, so all those in favor? And that carries unanimously. And motoring now. Okay, and so the last item was item P50, 2023, property matter bylaw enforcement matter, South Quincy Road property matter, and it was just a verbal update from our planning department. So at this point, that's all our confidential items, and that kind of brings us back to the beginning of the meeting here. And so again, I'm Councillor Riley. I'll be the chair of tonight's meeting. Councillor Terry Bell sends his regrets. Unfortunately, he will not be able to participate this evening, and so I will just go and make notes to members of the public that comments can be made from members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of the agenda. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jdyson@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be discussed and will be considered as public information and will be read into the public record. The meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the township website. So now I'll move to our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all of its Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. So at this point, I'll look around the room to see if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest and/or conflict. Not seeing or hearing any. Tonight we have no public meetings, which are very rare. I'm going to look around the horseshoe again to see if there's any changes in orders of items on the agenda. Nope. We have no appointments tonight. So at this point, I'll go to our IT to see if there's anybody virtually that would like to address anything on the agenda. And this is your chance now, so not seeing any. And then anybody currently in the gallery? Nobody's putting their hands up or running up to the microphone, so we're moving good. Move on forward to consent agenda items. So all items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and can be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of council requests it, in which case the item will be removed from the consent resolution and considered immediately following the adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. So under P5123, the recommendation is that the Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting are hereby approved the following consent agenda items. Items 1 and 2 be and are hereby received for information. Item 3 be and is hereby received and the recommendations contained therein be adopted. There's currently no exceptions. The items that we're referring to is item 1 is a memorandum. Manager of Planning Dave Hayworth and Director of Planning and Building Brian Trouble. Bylaw amendments to the Township's administrative monetary penalties, AMPS bylaw, and hearing officer appointment bylaw. 2, another memorandum, Manager of Planning Dave Hayworth, authorizing bylaw Kelly Redicop, Garden Suite temporary use agreement. And 3, the recommendation report PD 33 2023, authority to sign pre-servicing agreement with P-Buds Development Inc. So I'll look to see if there's any to pull. I got Councillor Chichuk. I got number 3, so 3 is going to be pulled. Any other numbers to be pulled? Not seeing or hearing any, so I'm going to get a mover and second to pull items, or not pull, but to vote on items 1 and 2. So I got Councillor Chichuk and Mayor Ganan. All those in favor? And I guess we'll just do it with a show of hands. That will carry. And so right now, I guess I have Councillor Chichuk who moved item 3 to pull. If I can get a seconder for that. I got Councillor Braderick and Councillor Chichuk. I'll go to you to start the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for allowing me to pull that item. I want to, through you to staff, ensure that I see that there's a want to have a pre-servicing agreement, and I understand why. I understand that the corporation, Bud Construction, did put in a lot of money into the first phase, but there is major infrastructure required to be external services that have to be installed by the region in order to let the internal servicing, which Mr. Budd wants to do ahead of time to get a jump on this, that needs to be installed, and he'd like to do that this year. My concern is that when people have services available, they can pre-sell. And if there are two things. One is that this draft agreement relies on the fact that another developer is expected to come in shortly and sign a front-ending agreement. If anything were to happen, the township would be on the hook, and I don't want any expectations made to anyone that couldn't happen. I'm aware of a very large developer, or very small, about the same size developer, who in the GTA has just gone bankrupt, and they've been charged with 1 million charges. There's been check kiting, and there's been a whole houses sold in both Brampton and around the GTA, and the expectation that this developer would come in and sign front-ending agreements actually is now up in court cases, and third mortgagees are working on it. So I guess I'm reluctant to find us trusting anyone unless there's sufficient securities from Mr. Budd to protect us, that there is clauses in any type of agreement that would ensure that he is aware and cannot connect to the servicing agreement, whether it's through a 1-foot reserve until there is a front-ending agreement for the servicing from the region, that he can't sell homes until that is done, and that there's a whole number of things that protect the municipality. I can see that he would want to get a jump on what he's doing, and it is expected that the other developers would be coming along. But in this day and age, one is only to my job is to keep the municipality safe without condemning someone to wait until we have everything in order. So, Mr. Chair, I would normally be expecting to find a front-ending agreement, a front-ending agreement where the developer who wants to go ahead will be putting forward the money to put the external services in place. But if I can hear satisfaction through you to staff that the agreement would save and hold us innocent and without ramifications coming to the township, I can understand that this might be something the township would want to would want to undertake. So, if Mr. Treble or
Yeah, I'll go
Mr. Hayworth would
go to our director first, and he can kick it off from there.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll start. Dave can add if I jump over anything. Councillor Chichuk is correct in the sense that this is a very complicated situation where we're trying to get servicing into the Northwest Quadrant and trying to keep things moving at the same time. So we had a meeting some 6 weeks ago or so where both developers, the region and the township, and a number of private sector consultants were at the table. The mayor and regional councillor Woodavine were briefed about that meeting afterwards as well, because it's key that we have to keep the pressure on the region to get this water line installed. Our understanding is, as of the weekend, is at 60% design, so it's got a little bit of a ways to go yet, but progress is being made. Our CAO and I are hoping to meet with the developer who's going to front end the water line shortly. I've reached out to him and he's suggested a couple of dates. But as all of that's going on, we have Mr. Budd who's anxious to get some of his own services up and running as well. So we reached out to the township solicitor to draft the agreement. It's being reviewed by public works staff as we speak. Public Works staff also have the 60% design for the water line that they are looking at, and they are working on the calculations of what securities we require for the installations that Mr. Budd is proposing to put in, which are 2 pieces of sewer line and an upgrade to piping for outlet for storm sewer as well. So through you, Mr. Chair, we're doing everything we can to ensure the township's protected. I feel I carry the same obligation to ensure the taxpayers' money is safe and secure, and I don't want an investor or developer spending and then turning on the township, or alternately having any sort of false expectations. So this will move forward carefully with guidance from legal, CAO, and others to make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And some of the other language through you, Mr. Mayor, that was mentioned around protecting the interests of the, or sorry, Mr. Chair, around protecting the interests of the developer and not allowing for development to happen until an appropriate stage. I'll make sure that language is there. I'll have that discussion with our legal counsel tomorrow, just to make sure that he's built in all of the safeguards that we can possibly build in. I don't know if that completely answers the question, but I'm certainly sensitive to the issue and the complications here. So
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I am most concerned about the fact that a developer can proceed with sales, and should the development, once he has services available or whatever, or he has a subdivision agreement that is in place, or a secondary plan, I should say, in place. So at some point with this moving picture of planning that we have going on above us, all I want to make sure of is that Mr. Budd understands, or Budd Construction understands, that we're not trying to hold him back, that this agreement can go through. It is not the normal course of action, and that we would look for securities to hold the town safe, but that he also understands that we have clauses that have to be put in so that we preclude the ability of this development going forward if for any reason further developers down the road who are going to pay for the rest of it don't come forward as speedily or expeditiously as we thought. That's my concern, is that we're depending on a third party to do the funding for something that benefits another third party, in which we are the ones in the middle.
thank you, Mr. Chair. On top of that, of course, there's the 2 levels of government that complicate things as well. So we're doing what we can to keep in touch and in some respects keep the file moving at the regional level as well. The other thing I was going to mention is, on top of all of this, we're working with Mr. Budd on his own subdivision agreement and his clearance of draft plan conditions. So at this point in time, I would doubt that he could sell units or lots. He hasn't made it to that stage in the approval process, but I know in his mind they're all tied together. He's not about to invest without certainty that he can build. So it kind of works both ways on both sides.
So somehow the guys and the ones I was talking about in Brampton actually sold all the lots and didn't even take ownership of the land. So all I'm saying is there are ways where mistakes are made, and I'm very sorry about that.
All right. Any other questions? Councilor Rayner, did you have your hand up there? Oh, okay. Okay, don't worry about it. All right, so at this point, not seeing or hearing any, we have our mover and seconder, so we're just going to finish this one with just a show of hands, and then we'll start going to the computer after that. So, never mind, the computer is in action here, so we'll just do it by computer. Ignore that. Oh, it's okay, no worries. Might as well get into the swing of things. So, does everybody have it in front of them? Who are we waiting on? So, Councilor Chichak, is it in front of you or no?
It is.
Okay, good. Make sure we have it. Excellent. Okay, that carries. So we'll move on to communications. Nope. Yes. Moving on to communications. So item P52 2023, Katie Church, Research Support Officer and EWC Field Team Lead, Invasive Species Center, and it's regarding European Water Chestnut Rapid Response Program Update 2023. And there's a recommendation here So I'll read the recommendation and then I'll get a mover and seconder. So the recommendation that the correspondence from Katie Church, Research Support Officer and EWC Field Team Lead of the Invasive Species Center dated June 5th, 2023 be received. And that the township staff continue to provide the Invasive Species Center with support if necessary and provide an update to committee and council if such action is taken. So if I can get a mover and seconder for that, so I have Councilor Broderick, I have Mayor Ganan. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. I'll go to our deputy clerk for the vote. Vote should be in front of you. That's fine. And drum roll, and that carries. So we'll move on to item 5323. It is Suzanne Memel, Senior Associate Team Lead Community Development, and it's Stantec Consulting Limited, and it's the draft block plan and MESP guidelines, and it says for information. I don't think we need anything from that, right? So then we go to staff reports. Item 5423, Manager of Planning Dave Hayworth and Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble. Recommendation report, PD 28, 2023. Request for funding to support a public realm improvement plan, PRIP application. So the recommendation is that the recommendation report, PD 28, 2023, regarding request for funding to support the public realm improvement program, PRIP of application, dated June 12, 2023, be received. And that council approved budget amendment BA 2023-04 as outlined in the report, which provides a budget of up to $75,000 towards the PRIP welcoming signage project to be used only if the PRIP application is successful. And 3, that a copy of the report PD 28-2023 relating to the request for funding to support PRIP application dated June 12, 2023 be forwarded to the region prior to ratification by council. So I'm going to need a mover and seconder for that. I got Councilor Broderick. I got Mayor Ganan. Any questions or comments? Councilor Broderick?
Just a quick comment, Chair. We talked about this briefly at the Heritage Committee meeting as Garrett had brought it forward and showed the pathetic current signage that is welcoming our people back home or to come and visit us. Smithville urban area has little, Wellingport has nothing, so it'll be a nice addition to our community.
Yes, I agree. Any other questions or comments? No, hopefully the grant's successful, or the application's successful as well, because that's the other part that's it's depending on. So at this point, I'll go to our deputy clerk to bring up the question there, or the vote. And that carries. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to move to item P55 2023, and it's a Manager of Planning Dave Hayworth and Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble. Recommendation report PD 29 2023 Block Plan and Master Environmental Servicing Plan, also known as MESP, guidelines to facilitate development in the expansion area. And the recommendation is that the recommendation report number PD 29 2023 relating to the block plan and MESP guidelines to facilitate development in the expansion area dated June 12, 2023 be received. And that council endorse the block plan and MESP guidelines provided as attachment 1 to the report number PD 29 2023, and that a copy of the report number PD 29 2023 be forwarded to the region of Niagara Planning and Development Department, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, and consultants that participated in the block plan and MESP workshop. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for that. Anybody? Got Mayor Ganan, and I'll go with Councilor Trombetta. Any questions or comments? Councilor Broderick.
I have one question through you, Chair, to, I believe, the Director or the CAO. I noted some very specific timelines in that report, and just wondering about how doable that is with our current staff levels, and what is the plan to augment that, those the staffing in order to adhere to those timelines.
Through the chair to the counselor. So the whole block plan process was developed on best practices. So we actually looked at other municipalities that had block plan terms of reference. Brantford was one, Guelph was another, and they had timelines. And of course, they're bigger municipalities with much more resources than ours, so we extended those timelines to try and address the fact that we're a smaller municipality. The other aspect too is this is mentioned in the report. These are guidelines which are fluid. We'll be using the first couple block plan submissions to gauge how much staff time there is, and we can come in and update the guidelines as necessary to deal with timelines or other factors that come up that maybe cause issues or anything like that.
Okay, great. Sounds like a good plan. Thank
I
you.
got our director as well, wants to chime in.
To add to that as well, we've reached out to the consultant who put together our fee schedule bylaw that we got consolidated towards the end of last year around Christmas sometime. And he will work with us to ensure that we establish a proper fee for the block plan process that will cover costs.
I noted that in the report.
Yeah, including additional staffing as required to make the process work. So that's another piece that we're working on, just to make sure we've got accurate costing.
Excellent,
That's
perfect.
it. Thank
That's
you.
great. Any other questions, comments? Not seeing or hearing any, I'll go to the deputy clerk for the question. All right, and that carries. So now it's going to move us to item P56, 2023. And again, that's Manager of Planning Dave Hayworth, Ed Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble. Recommendation report PD 2932, 2023. Township Official Plan Amendment number 65 to implement provincial changes such as Bill 109, Bill 23, and others. And the recommendation is that recommendation report PD 32, 2023 regarding the Township Official Plan Amendment number 65 to implement provincial changes, Bill 109, 23, and others, dated June 12, 2023, be received. And that Section 3417 of the Planning Act apply, and that no further public meeting is required, and that the official plan amendment number 65, also known as file number 1701-001-23, and a corresponding amending bylaw Section 18, implementation of the official plan, be approved and passed, and that staff be authorized to circulate the notice of decision of the approval of the official plan amendment number 65 to the agencies and public to commence the 20-day appeal period as regional council approval is not required. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for that. Nobody wants to move or second this one? Okay, I got Councilor Chichuk and Mayor Ganan. Any questions or comments? You got a question? Sorry, go ahead, Councilor.
I do have a question. I'm not sure if it's really in our recommendation, but I had heard in the media in the last week or so that the province has stepped back from their 3 severances on agricultural land, and was hoping that perhaps maybe their director could update council on what he knows about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I have heard similar messaging. We do not have a revised policy statement yet from the province, but certainly I anticipated and understand that the pressure was immense to back off on at least the 3 proposal. What the final policy will look like, we don't really know, but we can certainly keep committee and council aware once it comes out. It was, I think, a big issue that the Federation of Agriculture was very vocal about, as I anticipated there would be. Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if that's adequate there or not, but I just wanted to mention a couple of things with respect to this report as well. All these bills that keep floating around out there, Bill 97 was approved last week, or received royal assent, I should say, last week. And that is the bill that actually puts in place July 1st as the start of the timelines for tracking applications for rezoning and other types of applications under the Planning Act. As I read it, it's only those applications that have been received on or after July 1st that will be subject to the new rules. So as we sit here tonight, we had no public meetings, but I know we've got 2 applications that we need to get going. But once July 1st arrives, any applications we have at that point, we'll have to make sure we process those in a timely fashion, meaning that we may need to have summer public meetings just to make sure we can meet timelines. So I just wanted to sort of put that one out there. The other thing, if I may, Mr. Chair, the original draft that went to the public meeting had a section 18.25, which was a cost-sharing policy. It says in the report that's been pulled back. It has been so that we can work on that. Actually, legal counsel gave me some draft wording, I think it was on Friday, that we're flushing back and forth right now. We'll consult with others and then hopefully bring that back next month. That's the cost-sharing policy to help the landowners and the township work on a repayment plan with respect to the monies that we've used for the urban boundary expansion studies.
Okay.
I anticipate it's possible they might want to appeal that to the board for consideration as well. So that's one of the reasons why we pulled it out, so that it could be dealt with separately should it need to be. But also we had to have some additional time. So we're getting OPA 65 with the timelines here tonight so that we're ready for July 1st, or at least that's the plan. But the cost sharing will be next month.
Okay. And Councillor Chicha?
In approving this tonight, Mr. Chair, as further changes or evolutions to all of these bills occur, we will need to make modifications to what we've agreed to get into alignment with what the new provincial policies say. So this is the best we know at this time. Am I correct, through you to the staff?
That would be correct, yes. Yeah. It's kind of like a
Ducks in a pond.
kind of like a create your own job environment here. I don't know, it just never ends. Ugh.
Fix it as you go along. Any other questions, Councillor?
No.
Okay. Your mic's still on, just to let you know. Councillor Rayner?
Thank you. Director, what if we don't endorse it? I mean, they can ram it at us. We are allowed to vote. If it's a dictatorship, which it almost is, it's being rammed down our throat, suck it up. But why are we voting then? Like, this should just, you should just be dictating to us what the dictatorship in Toronto is telling everybody in the province, and we don't have the right to vote. This is like a technical report. You have no choice. You have to support it. So you're giving us a choice, and if the answer is no, we don't want it, they're gonna say, too bad. So sad. So why are we doing this?
Do you want to respond to that?
I'm happy to respond. You guys have the right to make whatever decision you choose is appropriate for West Lincoln, but as the policies have been drafted by the province, that means that you are going to be pretty sweet to the applicants that come forward, and you make them process applications for free, because we'll be paying back every developer every application we receive. So these processes are to try and make sure we streamline the process and not give the developers back money that should be covering our costs.
Good, Councillor, you have any questions? You good? Turn your mic on, please.
Through to the director, you mean you think we can get development costs back that supposedly we're not going to be able to get in the future by objecting to it and doing it our way?
No, the other
no.
way around.
Yeah, no, the other way around. The policies as written, if I may, Mr. Chair, the policies as written are meant to set in place a planning process. It gives us the power to set in place a planning process that does as much work in our approach upfront as possible, so that when we get into the formal Planning Act application process, most of the work is done and we can make informed decisions based on the information that is available to us. The other way of doing it is not do any work up front, receive an application, process it, attach all sorts of conditions, and trust the developer. And we're not recommending that approach at all. We're recommending that we work with the developer community so that you have informed information before you when you're asked to make a decision. If we can do all of that and achieve the timelines of the province, we keep our application money. If we fail, we start having to give money back after so many days. And so my recommendation is these changes will help us comply with provincial policy and keep our application money that we deserve.
Okay. Anybody else with any other questions or comments? Not seeing any, I'll go to our deputy clerk for the question here. It's like light speed there. And that carries. Excellent, thank you. So we're going to move forward to other business, and we have item P5723, Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, and it's a Standpack noise matter update. So I'll go to you, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep this very brief. I've given a few updates in public session before with respect to Standpack, and there's been a little bit of an update that I know some of you are aware of, but not everyone. So again, I wanted to keep everyone sort of on the same page. Standpack, as we know, has been working very closely with the community, the ministry, and other experts to try and address some noise concerns that have been ongoing at their plant. It appears, though, within the last month or so that Standpack feels they've done about everything they can, and so the file has now been passed over to the Ministry of the Environment. The Ministry of the Environment is the noise enforcement authority when it comes to stationary noise sources, which an industry is considered to be. So this file is now in the hands of the ministry. I don't think we have any clue whether the ministry is going to find concerns or whether they're going to agree with Standpack that they're generally compliant. But there will be monitoring and testing and reporting back mechanisms that happen over the next few weeks to a month. And as I hear things, I can certainly keep council aware. But at this point, the ministry intends to be out a couple of nights, I think, to do some noise monitoring to see exactly whether the readings are within acceptable ranges.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask if you had an approximate timeline when you expect like a worst case scenario, like you said, a couple weeks to a month, maybe more.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, I had understood that they had sort of an approval process inside the ministry that they had to go through in order to be authorized to take the equipment out at the middle of night and do that kind of monitoring outside normal business hours. And about a month ago, I had understood it would probably take the better part of a couple of weeks to make that happen. But last week, I still understood it was a couple of weeks away. So sometime over the summer, I would assume we will hear back, but that's probably about as accurate as I can get tonight.
And one other question, how many people have actually, have you heard any complaints in the last little while? Have anybody reported concerns directly to staff for the township? And if so, do you know approximately, has it gone up? Has it gone down?
Through you, I would say things are improving based on the number of complaints, but I don't know that we necessarily know about all of them. I'm aware of 2 at present, but there may be others that I'm not aware of.
Okay. Sometimes people don't bother, or they, don't think their neighbors are taking care of it. That's always a possibility. All right. Anybody got any questions for the director? Not seeing any. So this is just a verbal update. So thank you for that. Item P5823, members of the committee, other business matters of informative nature. I'll start from the right side. I got nothing from Councilor Rayner. Anything from Councilor Chichak? Nothing. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a couple of things. I did say that I would bring forward another update on our requisition program. I know that everybody, I think, got the email. Hopefully you all saw that, outlining the fact that we did make some changes in terms of what the original mandate was. So there will be a report next week as well, just to keep our paperwork trail complete. But in our 4 meetings that we've had, we did decide to change the name of the award from citizen recognition to community recognition in terms of community involvement. And we did set up 5 categories. So we're looking at 14 and under, 21 and under, 30 and under, 55 and under, and over 55. And we did determine as a committee that this could be a compilation of things that somebody had been doing over a period of time that they're recognized for, or it could be just one really great thing that somebody has been bringing forward in the last year, and that we would leave that to the discretion of the people who are making nominations. We are planning to roll this out on Canada Day, and hopefully get some information. Beth has put together for us a communications plan so that we feed out pieces of information. We are leaving the nomination period open from Canada Day until right after the fair, and giving people an opportunity to be reminded over the summer. And we did finally settle on a very open-ended nomination form whereby we're just asking people to write almost on a blank piece of paper whatever it is that they're nominating a resident for in terms of being recognized. And we are looking at having some kind of an event on October 26th. We did say that we would have an unbiased panel of judges. So I'm asking members of council, we've put together a list from which we hope to select somebody from each ward and also 2 other ad hoc members, so a 5-panel of judges. So if you know of somebody in your ward who you think would have a very open approach to looking reasonably at these nominations, we're going to redact them so that they're just really judging based on the information in that nomination and not on the person's name, but just simply on the kinds of things they're doing. And so we're hoping to have this very successful event that will roll out at the end of October. So any further questions? We have lots of information, and you can join us at a meeting if you wish. So that's number 1. Number 2, I wanted to just say is that this is National Blood Donor Week, so from June 11th to June 17th. And I think the thing that I find most fascinating about this is we have a very good crew of people who come out regularly to give blood in West Lincoln, but that's never enough. You know, there always is need for more. And under the stats and facts that came in the information piece I received today, it says that 1 in 2 people in Canada are eligible to donate blood, plasma, and platelets, but only 1 in 81 actually does that. So about 4% of the population are blood donors. So if it's something you've ever considered and you're watching this video or listening to it, or if you're sitting in this room and you haven't given blood, it is certainly something that's in great need. And my 3rd piece of information is that the market starts tomorrow. Yay. So we're back to regular market hours, and hopefully it's a day like today where it turns out that we do get rain, but it stops in time for market hours. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. I'll go to Councillor Trombetta. Anything? Councillor Bradrick? Okay. Go to Madam CEO. You got anything to report? Madam Deputy Clerk there, anything to report? You got anything? No? I'll just go to all members of the committee here. Okay, I guess I'll just...
I was just asking if...
Well, your mic needs to be on.
It wasn't for me. I was asking if they attended the Silverdale barbecue and how it was.
And Mr. Mayor,
Go for it.
Mr. Mayor, I figure I might as well say that.
Yes, we did. And it was great, well attended.
Very well attended. While the hours that were available for purchasing hamburgers and pie and participating in another penny sale, which is always an exciting thing to do, there were as many people that went through as normally go in a longer period of time, and it was well received, well attended, and everyone had a great time.
Excellent. That's great to hear. And then I guess I'll just end off on just, I guess, what Mayor Gannon mentioned in terms of blood donation. I know myself, I've kind of a rookie to the blood donation side of things, and I think, if I could ever advocate for something and encourage people, I was never a big fan of needles myself, but my only regret, honestly, is I didn't start sooner. It takes 8 donations to help one person battling leukemia, and that's just one of many people that really need the life-saving blood donation. It's in you to give, and if you're able and healthy enough and you're capable of doing it, please consider donating. They really need it. So. Okay, moving forward, new business. Any members of council have new items of business? Not seeing or hearing anything. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. And so I'm going to adjourn the meeting at the hour of 8:05 p.m.